The Hawaii Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. Let's wake up in the den. Agbayani alongside Paul Brett. And the day has come. No, not Halloween. Well, yes, it is Halloween, but we have a treat, not just for you guys, but for us here in studio. Joining us for the show is the one, the only University of Hawaii women's basketball head coach, Laura Beeman. Coach B! Woo!
Happy Halloween.
Thank you for joining us. We're not worthy. Championship winning coach in studio today. But no, how are you? How's your morning so far?
Great. I'm excited to be here. Like I said, happy Halloween. We exhibition game tomorrow night, so super excited about that. And just we're off and running now. Things are crazy. So I'm really pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. So we'll talk about the season and the team a little later in the show. But first things first, kind of the reason why we invite a lot of these coaches to come on the show is just to really, for our audience, to get to know them as a person and where they come from. You've been coaching here for a while, already in your 12th season now. And but it's time to reset. Who is Coach B? So originally from San Bernardino. So just tell us a little bit about your hometown and how you grew up.
Well, now's the time to turn your radio off.
No.
So, born and raised in San Bernardino, had the opportunity to, go into Weber State and play college basketball. And I blew my knee out in between my junior and my senior year. Decided to stay home, have surgery done, the old ACL. Stayed local. Really, really cherished staying local after I did it. My family was able to come and watch me play. I wasn't a great basketball player, good enough to get my education paid for, but not like this all-American style basketball player. And then from there, just got my business marketing degree, received probably the phone call that changed my life from one of the assistant coaches at the University of Redlands and said, hey, we have a graduate position open. Do you want to come and coach basketball? And I said, I have no idea what that means, but sure. Ended up getting my master's in educational counseling. And then I went to Mount SAC and spent 14 years there. Had to go back and get a master's in physical education. So for a young person who did not like education at all, hated school, really had to figure out my life pretty quick. What JC did for me as a young coach probably is what JC does for a lot of people that don't know where they're going in their life. There's just such a need for junior colleges across the country. So I taught there as well as coach. I was hired as a professor, not a coach, which is a really weird phenomenon. So I did a lot of first aid, CPR, pre-paramedic, some of the kinesiology, physiology, exercise science, all of those different courses. And then from there, I was there for 14 years. I think it was probably year 12. I remember sitting in my office and a 213 number popped up, which is outside of my recruiting district for Mount SAC. And I was like, okay, this is probably a recruit I need to pick up because I'm not going to be able to call them. And it was Michael Cooper of the Los Angeles Lakers. And when you hear someone say, is this Laura Beeman? This is Michael Cooper. First, you think you're getting pranked. And I'm like, okay, wait. Am I getting punked here? What's going on? Right. Yeah. And I'm not I'm not Laura Beeman. I'm, whatever. So he said, got a position open. Can you come down tomorrow and interview? And I was like, yeah, that's not a hard one. So went down, ended up interviewing. It was, I think, his birthday, day before my birthday. It was also Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's birthday. So it's all April 16th. A bunch of balloons and stuff. So immediately when I walked in the door, I was like, oh, you're celebrating my birthday. How did you know? And we kind of hit it off, went through the interview process, hired me on the spot. And I was fortunate enough to spend a year with the Los Angeles Sparks. After that year, it was a condensed year because it was also an Olympic year. Went back to Mount SAC, and then Coop called me, I think it was a year later, and said, hey, I'm at USC. Do you want to come work with me again? And I was like, okay, this is crazy. So I spent a couple years with him at USC, and then Hawaii opened up. And here we go.
And we're joined by UH women's basketball head coach, Laura Beeman. Now, I want to go back, though, reading your Hall of Fame bio. Yes, Hall of Fame at UC.
Hall of Old.
No, but it does say, I thought that was fascinating because you talked about, basketball and whatnot. You do have All-American honors. I know you weren't going to say any of that stuff, but when I saw it, it said that you actually liked soccer more and then just started playing basketball in high school.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that and how you essentially gravitated to basketball, but why you preferred soccer at a point in your life.
Soccer was fun. And it was a really easy sport for me. When I started playing soccer, the girls played with the boys. I have an older brother. He's a year and a half older. And I remember going out to the park, and we had this little kind of Bad News Bears type soccer team, and we needed a coach. And my dad said, never coached soccer, but you guys need a coach, so I'll put my name on the paper. And then my dad being my dad, all of a sudden he was like studying soccer, watching soccer, reading books about soccer. Well, we ended up taking this little motley crew of, boys and girls and like winning the whole district. And I just had a blast. I was at that age, I think girls mature quicker. Mm-hmm. So score a lot of goals faster than the boys. I really had a good time. I was a very good soccer player. And then as things changed, the girls had to go play with girls and boys were playing with boys. And I was working out with my dad's boys soccer team. There wasn't a girls soccer team, and I just didn't like girls soccer as much back then. It wasn't what it is today. And so I was like, And so I was out at the park one day, and I remember someone saying, I was out shooting baskets, and they're like, oh, you need to stick with soccer. You're too short. And I just took that as a challenge as well. If you're telling me I can't, then I'm going to. And that was kind of my personality growing up. I was kind of a ruffian as a kid. My mom and dad would say no, and I would just go do it. So started to like basketball. So I actually played a ton of sports. I did softball I didn't do it in high school. I did it my senior year of college. Did volleyball. Did not play soccer in high school or college, which is so bizarre because it was absolutely my favorite sport. But I fell in love with basketball and just kind of gravitated towards it and started playing, and the rest is history.
I'm sure my dad wishes that's what happened to me because I'm a soccer player, but played in high school. And then I loved it, but didn't really stick entirely with basketball. Yeah. But I do love it now. Paul and I talk about it all the time that we like basketball is kind of like the love in the studio. We love basketball in the studio.
Awesome.
I'm like, we're always like, football's cool, but it's basketball season now. Let's go. And we always get crazy at games. Well, Paul's kind of like we were talking about earlier, how I got to, our hype woman audition, but at the same time I had to think about it because I'm like, no, but I like to actually go to the games and enjoy it as a fan because I just love it so much and I love going crazy. And then Paul covers it.
Yeah, I go crazy on the inside, of course, but I would never break that professional.
Break it, Paul. Yeah. Break it. I'm begging you, break it.
We got approval.
That's all I needed right there.
Absolutely. Break it.
That's as good as like getting my parents' word to be like, hey, if you don't move out to Hawaii, we'll almost be mad at you. See, that's the same level of encouragement right there. Yeah. So I'll be sure to, I'll elbow the other guys and gals up there with me. Yeah. We'll start a little, because hey, it's a brand new year too for all of you beautiful people going out to games. The media people, we're not going to be down on the court, or some of us won't be down on the court anymore. We'll be up with you folks and be able to cheer. But you got to make us look like regular people because you guys got to come out to the games.
Yes.
So,
and again, going back to Coach Beeman, because she won't talk. I know you're very humble and will not say these things about yourself, but I want to tell all the beautiful people that, yes, you're All-American at Cal State San Bernardino and set the career season and game assist records while playing for the Coyotes, on top of all your 50 bajillion degrees that you had mentioned. So, I mean, if that's not accepting a challenge and overcoming it, I don't know what is.
I had some really great teammates. They were able to catch my bad passes and put the ball in the hole. And so that's what happens, when you're bad and they're good. So a really, really talented group. We really played and celebrated each other. I was one of those players that I didn't have the fortunate opportunity to really play for a coach that I liked. And I don't think the team as a whole did. And so we kind of just bonded together as a group and said, in spite of how we're being coached, we're going to go ahead and just love each other, celebrate each other. And we worked really hard for each other. And so that was really fun. And I think going into my coaching career, sometimes what you learn that you don't want to do or how you don't want to be coached is as important as what you learn how to do and how you want to be coached. So I was able to apply those lessons. And so as much as we didn't have the best coach or our favorite coach, I have to thank that person just because they did teach me what not to do. Don't touch the stove type thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was fortunate that I had great teammates around me and we were able to play a level of basketball that was probably, better than what we should have. And I'm very excited. I don't stay in touch with those guys as much. I do follow their careers a little bit, but they made me look good. Promise you.
And I'm so curious. Tell us about your time coaching in the WNBA and also like your thoughts on just how it has exploded and finally getting the attention that it's so well deserved. I've mentioned this before, obviously I grew up a NBA and men's basketball fan because that's what was on TV. That's all that was on TV. And only recently, I admittedly so, have really started focusing and watching more women's basketball because finally you're able to get it now. Whereas before it just wasn't there. But tell us about your time coaching for the Sparks and then also seeing this surge in the WNBA popularity.
I was really fortunate to work with people like Michael Cooper and Marianne Stanley and Steve Smith. And, Steve has ties here in Hawaii, and I still stay in touch with Steve. And, number one, I had no business being an assistant coach with the Sparks. I was wet behind the ears, had no idea what I was doing. I was more of a sponge than able to really give anything back. It was Candace Parker's rookie season. She came in with Shannon Bobbitt. I think Lisa was out in pregnancy, but was around all the time. Sydney Spencer, Delisha Milton, who we stay in touch. She's now coaching at I think it's ODU, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. She's bounced around from Pepperdine to someplace else. But those are Olympians. Those are great players. Mm-hmm. And for me to be such a young player, I didn't have Division I experience then. I had just been at JC, which is a very, very different level. And so sitting back and watching the grind of coaching at the professional level and the depth that you have to put into just your trade, scouts and practices, and, you're working 70, 80s a week, you're traveling, the hours you put in were phenomenal. And so having the opportunity to have someone like Marianne Stanley and Coop, Steve, to just say, hey, you're a little wet behind the ears, a little green, but we're gonna help you, and you have the knowledge. Come on. And so we had fun. I will be honest with you. I don't know if I'd want to coach pro again. Now it's different when you get coaches like Becky Hammond in there and some of these young women that are up and comers and relationships are so important to them. I think when I was in the WNBA, it was more transactional versus transformational. And I'm a transformational coach. At least I want to be. I don't want to be transactional with my players. And so it was very business. And being in that situation, I was like, okay, this is fun because the level was amazing. To watch what they could do on the court and to listen to Lisa be a player, but also be a coach and how she would do things, and watch Candace's just evolution throughout the season. And now what she's doing is, remarkable, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. But walking into a practice and you're like, hey, where's so-and-so? Oh, they got traded. And that was it. There was no goodbye party. There was no, hey, sucks to be you. Nothing, gone. And that was really hard for me because I like the women. And I was, not close to their age, but closer than obviously I am now. And my whole thing at JC was about helping young women get degrees and getting them someplace in their life and helping them just be something, because the population I had at JUCO, a lot of first generation kids, a lot of trauma, a lot of young women that Mount Sac was going to be their only hope in doing something productive. And so that was more of again, transformational, life-changing situation. Pros wasn't like that. So coaching with Coach Cooper was just a joy. He's intense. He's funny. Having the opportunity to go to USC and coach with him there, he grew my knowledge and grew my game because he challenged me every day. So would I do pro again? Probably, if I could be a head coach and have the relationships and do the team stuff that I like to do, the thought would be there. But it would have to be absolutely the right situation because it's just so business. And that's not why I coach basketball.
No, you're staying here forever. We're joined by UH Women's Basketball head coach Laura Beeman, but we got to step aside for a quick break, so we'll be back on Wake Up in the Den.
To more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
It's Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and our very special in-studio guest, University of Hawai'i Women's Basketball head coach, Laura Beeman. And yes, we got the Halloween theme going on. She said she'd show up as mean coach for Halloween, but so far she's been very gracious. I don't know. We're waiting for the Halloween costume to come out. But speaking of that, so we've had Savannah Ryer on the show before. You're a former player and now director of recruiting for the football program. But she mentioned how your coaching style, and we talked about this before the break, some of the ways that you got your style, but she said you're not a coach that yells, and you don't yell. And she even said, like, when she was playing for you, like, coach, it's cool, like, you can yell at me, like, just yell at me. And full transparency, when I coach soccer, I am a yelling coach, so I need to know, like, how do you not yell? And like, that's impressive.
I think it's a couple things. I don't like coaching angry, because then you lose perspective, right? And I've said to my staff before, I've said to the kids before, there's a difference between coaching emotional and coaching with emotion. And I think that emotional is when you scream, you yell, you stomp, you lose sight of what's going on. It's about your ego, versus coaching with emotion, which is chest bumps, dapping, high fives, getting excited, letting kids know that you either are happy with performance, not happy with performance, but it's not the end all be all. And I think that as you mature, not only as a coach, but in your life, and trust me, I still get mad. I still, lose my cool, act like a jerk. Sometimes in my my personal life, it's like, whoa, why? Come on now, take a chill pill. You don't need to be this frustrated. It's not that big of a thing. Having a child does that to you. But as a coach, I think that you get better results when you can keep kids in an area where they feel very safe. And yelling is not motivation. Fear is not motivation. And I know a lot of coaches disagree with that. Well, if I'm screaming at them, they're going to be embarrassed, or they're going to do what I want because they want me to stop yelling. Sure. For me, that's not a motivating factor. I think that that's something that when I raise my voice at my team, I lose my cool. I'm saying, let's go in a very different way, speak the kids' language. I'm going to get their attention. But if I can do that every single day, then it becomes fear. And particularly for women, I don't think growth happens in a place of fear. I think growth happens in a place of safety. I think there has to be consequence. There has to be expectation. Mm-hmm. They have to be realistic. They have to be agreed upon. So do I yell? Yes, I will absolutely raise my voice. I will absolutely share my disappointment. I will never, period, make it a personal attack, a degrading thing for young women. And if I feel like I've crossed that line, I will be the first to say, if I said this and if it offended you, or if you felt like I was coming at you as a person, we need to have a conversation, because that is not how I was raised. I was blessed that I had parents that did not, beat me, scream at me. We discussed. There were consequences, of course. And so that evolution, my days at Mount Sac, I definitely yelled more. I was immature. I was a results-driven coach that it was about my ego. I think now you can balance all of that and still have a healthy ego. You can still have healthy expectations. You can also have a very healthy level of respect.
All right, I'm ready to play for coach. Let's go.
I'm ready. So we both knew that we would be ready to run through a wall. But I was curious just how that growth comes, because you mentioned how as a young coach, that immaturity, that results-driven part of the business, right? For younger coaches or people like Savannah who have been able to get into the operations and the coaching side of things, what kind of advice would you give to even a younger you as you learned these lessons of how to control that or walk that line between being emotional and coaching with emotion?
You know, I feel it's our job as coaches to continue to grow our game, our portfolio. So obviously it's reading books, it's talking with other coaches, it's watching other coaches and saying, wow, I would hate to play for that person, or I would love to play for that person. You know, travel ball, which is something that we won't get into here because it's a chapter in a book itself. The way that those coaches scream and yell at players probably made it even more in my face that I do not want anyone to ever see me act that way. My players are human beings. They're young women. They're impressionable. I want them to want me at their weddings or their, the birth of their child type situation, not, I don't ever want to see Coach Beeman again. And so I think it's watching, it's listening, it's being willing to look at yourself and find your own shortcomings. There was a time in my life that I wasn't a Laura Beeman fan, that I was like, wow, you need to get your stuff together. And, I've done my own healthy dose of personal therapy where I've gone into a room and said, I don't have my stuff together. And I'm tired of having to act like I have my stuff together all day long. That's exhausting. To have to be a coach in every aspect of your life, every day, every moment is exhausting. I want to be able to walk in a room and, say something stupid and trip and fall and do something where people are like, oh my gosh, no, I'm not Coach Beeman here. I'm Laura Beeman and I'm a real dork. And I'm just as insecure as everybody else at times. I don't like to be the center of attention at times. I'm just that person that wants to hide in the corner. And until you can admit that, you coach all the time and it's exhausting. And so I think that growth of wanting balance in my life, wanting to be good in my personal relationships, and modeling behavior to young people that not the desire to be liked, but the desire to help them be in healthy relationships is super, super important. Do I want people to like me? Sure. Do I want my players to like me? Sure. If they don't, because we just have a personality thing, I still want them to walk away with lessons that are going to help them grow as young women and be really great in their relationships and be able to go and contribute to society. And so I'm still walking my journey. I'm definitely, I hope I'm not a final product. I still hope that I can make some growth in other areas. And I think that's where I find my success now. I want to win, obviously. I think you can do two things at one time. And so it's finding your significance, finding your success, being willing to just admit that, like I said, I'm a big dork.
Well, we're fortunate to have your dorky self here, not just in studio this morning, but also for the University of Hawai'i women's basketball program. So talk to us a little bit about your decision to apply and then take the job here at UH and what went into that. And I mean, obviously, like I said, we're fortunate to have you, but just tell us about how that whole process went for you.
Well, I'm going to just full disclosure here. So I have a partner. It's Carla Hauser. She's the executive director of Rise, which is a homeless shelter
Shout
here.
out, Carla.
Yeah, here in Hawaii. If y'all want to see somebody who's amazing in what they do in their life, running a homeless shelter is for kids is pretty tough. And so she actually put my application in for me. I didn't know. I think she said kind of offhandedly, hey, Hawaii's open. I'm going to apply. And I think I was at, USC at the time and we had a feeling, unfortunately, that Coach Cooper was going to get fired. He wasn't supported, I don't think, the way he should have been. The man's amazing. And out of sight, out of mind. And so literally I remember we were home, phone rings, it's an 808 number. And Carla says to me, I think that's Paula Nishimoto. And I'm like, who's Paula Nishimoto? He goes, that's HR at Hawaii. Carla had been recruited back in the day by University of Hawai'i when she was at Maryland at Hagerstown High. Amazing basketball player, volleyball player, where they were recruiting her for basketball. And I'm like, what is going on? And again, am I being punked? She's like, oh, don't you remember I told you I put your application in? Pick up the phone. Paula's like, hey, this is Paula Nishimoto. I'm like, you're right. I'm pointing at the phone. Carla's looking at me like, what's going on? And I'm like, hi. And she's like, got your application and want to know if we could fly you in and interview you. And I said, sure. And this is probably 7:00 at night, California time. And Paula said, so we have a flight for you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Can you make it? And I'm like, sure. I said, I don't have any portfolio. I have nothing. She goes, that's okay. You know, your application really came in right under the deadline, and sorry for the late notice. And so I flew into Hawaii the next morning, and I landed at, 3 or 4 o'clock, whatever that 8 a.m., flight lands. Maybe it was an 11 o'clock flight. They picked me up at the airport. I changed in the bathroom because I didn't want to wear my suit, so I'm thinking, why did I wear a suit to my interview in Hawaii? Walk in, interview, and went back to the hotel. Of course, called Carla, and I said, I think I crushed this interview. And I still had a job, easy to apply for a job when you have a job. I said, I think I crushed this thing, Carla. And she's like, I knew you would. Oh my gosh, And someone's breaking through the phone call with Carla, and I said, oh my gosh, I probably used other language. It's Jim Donovan, who at the time was the athletic director. And I said, I gotta go. I click over, and Jim says, I'm downstairs at the bar or wherever it was. Can you meet me? And I was in my pajamas already. I'm like, Jim, I gotta, give me 5. Give me 5. Walked down and talked to Jim, and he offered me the job. And so from there, it was a little bit of a whirlwind. Went back home, talked to family, obviously talked to friends, started to really think this is actually happening. And I think 3 days later, I flew in, did my, press conference. And at that point, I think I realized how big of a job the head coach for Rainbow Wahine basketball is. Because when you're in the mainland, the only reason we got attention when we were at USC was because you were walking through the airport with Michael Cooper and Lisa Leslie and Candace Parker. Otherwise, they didn't know who, any of I was, for sure. And so when I walked in to do the press conference and the room was full, 1, I wanted to strangle Jim Donovan because he did not give me the heads up. 2, I was like, oh my gosh. And so at that point, I was like, I have to be transparent that this is a whirlwind. I don't even know, is Hawaii part of the United States? I mean, that's how ignorant and naive I was. I knew it was. I was kidding. And I think one of the first things I said was, please don't ask me to say the state fish because I cannot pronounce the state fish. And everyone laughed, and I thought, okay, here we go. And at that point, it was, I have to be very transparent of what I don't know because I don't know a lot. And if I come in here acting like I know a lot about Hawaii and I say something disrespectful, about hula skirts and coconut bras, which is so stupid but happens, that this is my one time to make a great impression. And so I have to stand up here and be really raw about, I need a lot of help, that I'm going to come in and love these kids. I know how to win. We want to win, but I need a lot of help with the culture because I don't get it. And there are things I still don't know. For those of you that like me, thank Carla. For those of you who don't like me, blame Carla. But that is the story of why I'm sitting here today.
That is so I had no idea. When you were hired was maybe when I was just fresh into this whole sports media world, like out of college. But I had this whole time, I had no idea. Shout out Carla.
Yeah, right.
Because obviously we love you. So wow, I know. I finally got to meet her at that Pono Wines thing, and I recognized her when we were kind of by the bar. I was like, Carla.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh my God. And then start talking. She's awesome. And now she's even more awesome because she got
she
here.
delivered one of the best gifts to the Hawaii athletic department we could have gotten.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very sweet. Thank you.
No, seriously though, just real quickly, as somebody else who has come from the outside and had those worries, I've found something similar, and I think that it's big. Not everybody understands that humility that you have to come in with and be like, hey, please help me. I am here to learn. I am not here to do anything but try and work towards a common goal. And I don't know. It's cool to hear from the beginning. Also, like you said, shout out Carla, shout out partners. They always do awesome things.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Wow. I can't stop smiling. What an awesome
That's a great story.
Well, it's, I think people can smell stuff. And, I think what I realized very quickly in Hawaii is what I didn't know, and that I wanted to be a part of something bigger than me. And that is what the Aloha spirit is people who are going to constantly give and not take. And I don't know what light or what clicked that for me. But I knew that I felt really special and honored to be the coach. And I wanted people to support me for the right reasons. And so it was really admitting immediately, I really don't know a lot. I need a lot of help. And I do know, though, I want to be a part of this amazing place. And then I was very fortunate just to have some people in my life, if call it on my board of directors, that kind of said, hey, you stepped in it. Here's how to get out of it. Or, don't step in it. This is what you need to do. Take a deep breath. And, just kind of sitting back and being really gung-ho at UH. I think I stepped on some toes early with some of my colleagues because I wanted to win and wanted to do things so quickly. And then realizing I need to apologize. That's not what I want to do and who I want to be. And then stepping back and just really opening kind of my ears and my eyes to what was around me. And trying to learn and then trying to communicate with people and asking them what I needed to do better and what they could do for me, and just that whole growth process.
We'll talk more about your time here at the University of Hawaii, but we need to take another break, and we'll be back on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and our special in-studio Halloween guest, University of Hawaii women's basketball head coach Laura Beeman. And before the break, and kind of during the break, we were talking about Carla and how she was the one that applied for you to get this job here in Hawaii. But you were also talking about just, how supportive she was and how excited she was when you got the job, and being the support that you needed just transitioning here. She had to take care of everything back where you guys were, and then helping with the move out here to Hawaii. So it's good having like those really, really supportive people in your life. And I also have a supportive partner who you know very well. So I just wanted to bring up this funny story and show you something. I don't know if you've seen this. This was at last season's Big West Conference Tournament Championship. And obviously it was on ESPN or ESPN Plus or whatever. And someone took a screenshot of this, and it's been a running joke so far.
Oh, it's me hugging, crying in Mike
in Mike's arms.
The stress of and the relief of winning is something crazy. And the way this team did it last year was remarkable. To have all the injuries and go in as a third place, or third seed when you were picked number one, and all of those different things. And, Mike is, as everyone knows, a huge supporter of UH athletics, and he has been very, very supportive of me. And everybody needs those people in your life. And it's the hug, you just don't hug people like I'm hugging Mike there.
That's why. And then we joked. Yeah. I joked with him. I was like, well, I'm not protecting you against Carla. I'm just going to say,
Yeah, I think I hugged more people after that game, and just I needed that, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to, break down and cry. And super exciting time after that championship. And there were a lot of really, really special people that made that happen. Winning is fun, but winning with people who love and support you is even better. And, my entire family was there. Great supporters were there. And to celebrate that moment was tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah. And I need to make sure that we give out a huge shout out to one of the big supporters of the Rainbow Wahine basketball program, our friend Ben.
Yeah.
And I know, the tournament last year was definitely, it was on another level for him. And I know that totally helped him through some stuff. We were all going through it with him. And I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's been there supporting this women's basketball program. And so again, what does it mean to see some of these like really diehard fans, especially men, it's something like to see men supporting women, and how it's going now at the national level too. You see NBA players and celebrities now sitting courtside at WNBA games. So just describe that feeling of having that support system in the fans.
Everybody has their why, whether it's your parents, whether it's to prove something, whether it's to go pro. Most often, though, players, coaches, your why goes beyond the winning, I think, if you're doing it right. And so when you have a fan or fans that you're helping them through something, you're putting them in a happy place, You are the reason why they can have that smile on their face. You give them something to cheer for or something to be a part of. That's the beauty of sports. I think there are very few things that unite community. And unfortunately, it's more like natural disasters unite a community. War unites a community. Sports unite a community. And I don't know if there are things beyond those things that really bring community together. And when you're at the University of Hawai'i and you are the only Division I women's basketball program, you have a huge part of the morale in the community. And so to see men now getting excited about women's basketball, to have the championship game last year in women draw more support, TV viewership than the men, that's tremendous. To watch the excitement that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and Kim Mulkey and some of these other people are getting, it's about time. It's about time. And so, my big push is I want to continue to have the men come out. And, men say, well, Guy, I can go out and I can play one of these pro women one-on-one and probably beat them. Or, I can do what they do. And it's not about that. Number one, they probably can't, but it's not about that. And I know there was this guy that said he'll take a high school team. And if the high school team beats the pro team, he'll give them $1 million. And that's so ego-driven and misogynistic and disgusting. And it's not about whether a man can go out and beat a woman on the basketball court. It is about women playing at a level that is better than anything that women have done before. And when the NBA guys go out and they play and they do amazing things, that's great for them. When the women do it, it's great for them too. And why do we have to have this, I'm trying to think of the politically correct term, this always contest of, well, men can do it better. That is so ego-driven and such an insecurity. You're losing the full grasp of why women play sports and how we do it really well in the way that women do it. And so when I get supporters like Ben and Mike and Chemo, and I could go down the line.
Kaipo, they were out there, yeah.
I just tons of people that are like, here we go. And they get super excited. I love that. And my big push right now is women, where are we? I get all the time, Coach, we love what we do. We love what you do. Do you come to my games? Well, no, I go watch the guys. Okay, come to mine too. Because when they're gone, I'm home. And our tickets are cheap. And we need the experience. My kids need to walk into the Stan Sheriff Center and have a full crowd, not missing butts in the seats. And so the push is, we support women. Let's do it then, right? Guys, I love you. Keep coming out. I'm never going to exclude anybody. We're an inclusive program. Women, support women, please. And so it's all about that, being someone's why, helping them through something, because they become our why, I promise you.
I love it. Exactly. Everyone go out. The first game tomorrow, exhibition game against University of Hawai'i Hilo. And that's why I said earlier, I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to be working at the basketball games because, I go to the men's basketball games as a fan. I want to go to the women's basketball games and get crazy like I do so that I can come to the show and be like, oh, my crazy twin that goes to the women's basketball games.
I love crazy.
It really is awesome to see the support of women's athletics continue to go up, and I agree, it's disgusting, and we could have a whole other tangent on some of the comments that continually get made on the day-to-day. How do you help your girls combat that at times? Because I can imagine that's especially difficult in today's day and age with social media and how visible and how accessible a lot of these players are at times. How do you help your girls at times? Do you have to help your girls at times deal with those type of comments and seeing how the world can sometimes be?
I think my girls help me. Coach Beeman, get off the ledge. We bring each other through it. And recently I had one of my players come into the office and they're like, Coach, this whole NIL thing is just something else. And I'm like, I hear you. And my comment was, we play for what's on the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey. And we will always be a program that plays for the University of Hawai'i, not whatever Beeman or Smith, or that's just not going to be, that is not how we recruit. That is not how we're going to recruit. And I kind of looked at her and I said, let me ask you, would you rather be getting NIL money like that or have the championship rings, plural, that you have? And she kind of looked at me and she said, I knew you were going to say something like that, Coach. And I laughed. And I said, we're living in a different world. And as women's sports grow, our kids are going to get their opportunities with NILs. And I hope they do. Obviously, I have to stay out of that. You hear what goes on. We're going to continue to play for the state of Hawaii. We're going to continue to play for each other. We're going to continue to play for championships. And that is something that we preach. And so when they hear these comments, we talk about them because that's part of their growth off the court. And probably my biggest philosophy as a coach is if we can help these young ladies become better people, better young women, collaborative, play well with others off the court, then I promise you what we see on the court is going to be amazing. And that is how we work through this kind of stuff, is open, honest, transparent conversations. Hard to get feedback sometimes that you don't want to get. Hard to hear things, but it is the reality. And you can act like it's not there and get angry and frustrated, and then that's how you're going to act and play. Or you can just say, okay, let's just continue to move the needle the direction it needs to be moved. So for all you guys out there and all you people out there, women, men that are supporting us and supporting us for the right reasons, thank you. We really appreciate your support, and come to games. Please come to games. These are amazing young women, and I will always push and support and promote what we do on the court because I really feel like we're doing it the right way.
Yeah, and be sure all of you guys that come out and support or look for those NIL opportunities to support the players because, people want to support winning, and this program is by far winning and going for that three-peat this year. We're joined by University of Hawai'i women's basketball head coach Laura Beeman. We should technically take a break right now, but as the unofficial program director, we're not going to take a break, and we're just going to go right through to the end of the show because I don't want to waste this time that we have with Coach B. So I know Paul's getting ready over there, about to go to break. Hey, you can just leave it in, and we'll just wait for the heart out at the top of the hour because I'm like, we can't waste the little precious moments we have with Coach B in studio.
I'll take care of this on this end. You take care of the rest. All right.
All right. Now going into this season, well, actually, let me back up. Last season's Big West Conference or Tournament Championship, down 15 points going into the half. What can you share with us were your words of inspiration at halftime?
With that group, we have been a very transparent, open team for the last couple years. The halftime conversation this year was very much like it was last year because I believe we were down or barely tied with Irvine. I can't remember what the score was, but it was the same conversation. Kind of go over the X's and O's, where we needed to make some changes offensively and defensively. Don't sugarcoat things just because it's the championship. That's the one thing I warn the girls about all the time is I don't care what kind of game it is, we're going to coach you the same. First game, last game, you're going to be coached the same. The bottom line was Santa Barbara was playing more loose and having more fun than we were. And even though we went in as a third seed, I think our girls felt the pressure that they were supposed to be winning this thing. And so we played like it. We were tight. Just reminded them about the little things. And then basically it was, you've been here before. We've done this before. Have fun. And it really, there was no yelling. People are like, you must have yelled at them. No, again, I'm not much of a yeller. It was just, let's go out and have fun. And then we set little mini goals as we were going through. Okay, third quarter media, let's have it to 10. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, let's have it here. Some of the goals we reached, some of the goals we didn't reach, but the girls felt the momentum shifting. And we had some really big plays by a lot of different people in not only that game, but the quarters and the semis to put us in a position to win that ball game. So the big thing for me is we try not to play based on the scoreboard. You play based on possession basketball. Get a stop, get a score, get a stop, get a score. That can't change when you're down. And so it was just those reminders. But it really was very little coaching what we did and how they came together. They knew what we needed to do. Those young ladies brought it home. We had nothing to do with it.
I love it. And now we're looking at this season, returning just about everybody. Lost a couple of seniors, but also brought in some transfers as well to fill in those positions. I was texting with Ben yesterday, who was out at practice, and the expectation is very high this season. Paul and I were at Media Day and we were just looking at all the talent coming back and the size and everything, all the skill. And, you know, to put it in Paul's young people terms, this team looks nasty. So the expectation is there for the three-peat. What can you tell us about this group? And Ben said they look like mid-season form already.
Thank you, Ben. You know, we like expectation. You know, when I was at Mount Sac, we did do a three-peat, and I think we won 4 out of 5. You know, in my career there, we were very fortunate. I had an amazing staff there, and Brian recruited hard and did some great things. And again, just fortunate to have people around me that knew a lot more than I did. And so having the bullseye on your back and trying to go for a three-peat, it can be hard if you get wrapped up in that. If you stay in our process, we are a process team. We are not about the end result. If these young women stay within our process, that it's about the growth. It's about, you know, Carla always says fail stands for first attempt in life. And that's, you know, the population she's dealing with, they fail a lot, right? As we all do. And talking to our kids about being safe to fail, believe in your process. If they keep their focus there, the expectation won't turn into pressure. And so we want to win it 3 times. We talk about it openly. That is the goal. That is the intensity. That is what we are striving to do. We can't get wrapped up in that. You know, a couple of our colleagues in the Big West voted us 3rd. That's insulting to me. I don't care who they are. I appreciate your opinion. I disagree with it. Our kids need to understand that there was somebody in our conference that thought that they were 3rd place. I don't know who it is, so we need to play everybody like it was them. And we will find our motivation to show up every day and play. We have a good group of girls. They do things the right way. They make mistakes, you know, but they do things the right way. They want to play good basketball. They want to celebrate each other. They want to win.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
Third. 2. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, like I said, Ku put me on the spot, you know, letting everybody know that I called the team so nasty, but they are. They really, really are, because you guys, you show off some pretty good balance between your inside and outside games, your guard play, your post play. Ku mentioned it. You guys brought in some new players, whether it be a transfer in Brooklyn Brewers or, you know, you have a few freshmen who come in and, you know, obviously coming up to the college game, it takes a little bit of time. What have you seen from the newest players so far as they, and not necessarily, you don't have to get into on the court, I know, because, you know, we got to keep our competitive advantage. But what have you seen from them as they've been able to kind of mesh into this championship DNA that you've been able to cultivate together as a team?
You know, very, very fortunate in a lot of different areas. I have an amazing staff that they are, and I don't say this to be cute, coach talk. I have a staff that is way better than me in a lot of areas. And that, to me, is what the job of a head coach is, to bring people in that are better than you in areas. Alex Delaney does a phenomenal job with our offense, and Derek Florence does a phenomenal job with our defense. And Kalila Mitchell came back this year. Her player development knowledge and connection with the kids is great. It's phenomenal. And so I get to sit back and kind of see what they're doing and watch and learn and put pieces together, and they allow me to do the things that I'm good at. And so to have that synergy with your coaching staff is phenomenal. And so now we have a bunch of freshmen that are coming in and a transfer with Brooklyn Brewers. And our team, the returners, see that synergy with us as a coaching staff, and now it's their turn to be the coaches on the court. And so they have taken this young freshman group and have said, we're going to coach you up. We're going to show you some of the things that you're going to need to know immediately, and we're going to help you where the coaches don't have to. And so to have 10 other coaches on the floor saying, no, stand here or do this, or this is the way the offense runs, or get into your playbook, or yeah, you're going to cry today because it's going to be hard. You know, Coach Beeman jokes that she's never killed anybody yet. It is true. Suck it up. Let's go, Buttercup. And so they have those conversations that, you know, it's better to get your teeth kicked in the Stan Sheriff against each other than to get our teeth kicked in when we go on this road trip against Stanford, because Stanford doesn't care if you cry. Stanford's going to try to make us cry. They probably will make me cry. And so, you know, it's accepting what's in front of you. Brooklyn Brewers looks amazing. You know, she has to get the rust off. She didn't play a lot. She has to build her confidence and want to be the dominating player that we know she can be. But just because she wants to be doesn't mean she's ready to do that emotionally. Vivian Barrett out of Washington is probably, she has surprised me more than what I expected with her physicality in the post, not afraid to be a banging back-to-back post player. And, Jade Peacock out of Australia knew she could get to the basket, didn't know she shot the ball as well as she did. And just her reads, Brooke Morrell coming in and probably the most green of all the freshmen, but just doing all the things off the court that you would want from a senior. And so I can go down the list of what these young women are doing. A lot of it goes back into the returning players and how they have bought into our process, into our program, how their coaches off the court. I think right now we got to get kids healthy. Injury is going to be the thing that could get us, knock on wood, that we get healthy, we stay healthy, and that these guys continue to buy into what it is we're trying to do. And I think they have, and I think they will continue to do that.
And we have a few more minutes left on the show. As we mentioned, tomorrow, exhibition game against University of Hawai'i Hilo, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. Make sure you guys go out. You will not see my crazy twin there tomorrow, as I do have to be at OIA Girls Volleyball Championships. And then they go on the road to play Stanford, Santa Clara, and then come home. So the first home game, I hope to see everybody there, will be on Friday, November 17th. Early game, though, 2:30 p.m. against San Francisco. But yeah, with a couple minutes left, I'll give you the rest of the floor and just tell everybody what, you want to see them come out, and also a little bit about what you tell your team going into playing a team like Stanford, at Stanford.
It goes back to the expectations of three-peat, right? You have to address the elephant in the room, but you can't try to ride the elephant. You have to say, okay, it's Stanford. There's 13 in the country or 17 in the country. You're not supposed to beat them, but you don't need to get your teeth kicked in. Let's go out there and let's play Hawaii basketball. And whatever that looks like at the end, we're going to have a measurement of where we're supposed to be in the country, in our conference. We did this last year with Oregon State, where we lost with 0.4 seconds on the floor because of what I thought was a pretty questionable call. We can't look at the opponent. We have to play our game. It's the first game for Stanford also. We have an idea what they're going to run. We have an idea of their personnel. We have to go out and play our game. Bottom line, we turn around, we play Santa Clara 2 days later. We can't put everything into Stanford and win or lose, then turn around and not do what we're supposed to do against Santa Clara. You don't win anything in November. We're trying to win another ring in March and advance to the tournament and get deeper into the tournament. That is the goal of this team. That is what's driving this group, is our conference tournament. And then let's not go to an LSU and play the home team on their court in front of 10,000 people. Let's play the neutral team. Let's show what we can do and continue to grow as a group. And again, it comes back to our process. So that's the message towards Stanford. For our fans, I know some of our games are early. It's tough this time of year because we're trying to do double headers with volleyball. Go Wahine volleyball. We love you guys. Let's play strong in the tournament. We have football games we're dealing with where we can't have cars on campus, and so people are going to have to Uber in, all of that.
Well,
so
Coach
come out
B,
and support us.
Come out and support. It's been probably the best way to start off our Halloween here. Thank you so much to University of Hawaii women's basketball head coach Laura Beeman for joining us.
Happy Halloween.
All right. Hope to see you guys out there at the games. For Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening. Bye.